Hi everybody, welcome to Photomikes Garage, and no, your eyes are not deceiving you. There are two Crown Vic police interceptors in my driveway, one right there and one right there. Yes. Okay, so like I said in my previous video, I do have a problem. I have too many Crown Vics. They're both the same Crown Vic. This is a 2009. This is a 2007. This one has a few more problems. There's a bit more work to get it cleaned up. This is the better one. I just wanted to share a few pointers of things that I've encountered with the Crown Vics as I'm trying to fix them up a little bit, get them more roadworthy, check them out. Just a few tips, things that I found that I wanted to share with you guys. And some of the things are quite interesting. Okay, I'm doing some quick touch-up to the front bumper, and I don't know if I'm going to try to fill this hole. This is where the push bar was. Don't know if I'm going to fill this hole or not, but yeah, I'm just trying to touch up some of the marks that are on the side here. Now, one of the things I do first is check the air pressure on all the tires to make sure they're up. They're usually pretty good about keeping that proper at the maintenance yard for these vehicles, but check the tire pressure first. Take the wheels off and check the brakes. Now I check the brakes to make sure the pad thickness is good, to make sure that the discs have a lot of meat on them. And in this particular vehicle, they've just changed the brake pads, and it's got brand new or nearly new discs on the front anyway, so that's all good. But what's not so good is, let's go underneath the vehicle. Now here you can see, all the coolers that are in the front of this vehicle. Now check this out. You've got, first of all, this is the reinforcement bar that helps the vehicle withstand high-speed collisions. This is extra reinforcement right across the front here. But then look at this. You have a small heat exchanger right there, right? Then you have an actual small oil cooler right here. Then, well, I think then you have the air conditioning radiator right here. And then behind that you have the regular radiator, I believe, behind there. So that's like 1, 2, 3, 4 heat exchangers in the front of the car. And now it's all clean now, but what I found is that this area was completely clogged up. There's still a little bit of junk in there, but I've cleaned most of it out. I used a hose. I used a plastic scrubber, not a metal scrubber, because I don't want to wreck these delicate fins. Apparently, the police officer who previously drove this vehicle drove it through a cornfield. There was all sorts of vegetation, leaves, grass, all clogged up in the radiators. So that is something that you should definitely check out. They were completely clogged, and that would have definitely caused some overheating in the future. Other than that, as you can see, there's no real oil leaks. There might be a few small weeps, but nothing major. And everything is heavy duty and in really good shape. Now, of course, you want to check all your fluids. You want to check your power steering fluid, your radiator fluid on the side right here, and this battery is in good shape. I've cleaned the terminals a little bit. Sometimes they're corroded. And of course, you want to check your master cylinder brake fluid level. This is up, and your oil. And when the car is running, you check the automatic transmission fluid level oil right there. And there you have it. So this engine is quite clean, ready to go. It recently had a new alternator put on, and a recent redo, and a recent replacement of the intake manifold. Now, this is another thing on Crown Vics. Is a plastic intake manifold that often does crack because there's a lot of heat underneath this hood. So you have to watch out, look for cracks, look for water in the valley, like antifreeze in the valley at the bottom of the manifold. So you look for that, and this one's in good shape. Another thing, as I've mentioned in my previous videos, is that you look at the steering shaft right here, you can see where my light is on. That is often very rusty and very bad shape. This one's not too bad, and I don't know why, but Ford has this completely exposed. All these joints are completely exposed to the elements, and so that is why it can rust. Also, I checked the air filter and it is good as well. So basically the maintenance yard takes good care of these vehicles most of the time, but it doesn't hurt to check. Okay, to take off all the shadow marks from all the decals that they took off the car, you see all these little shadow marks, you're gonna use Goof Off. Now I got this because I think the name is really cool, Goof Off. But it really works. It really does work. Another thing too is wear rubber gloves when you're working on your car with these kind of chemicals. These are very strong chemicals. As a matter of fact, I'm feeling kind of lightheaded right now. I've got to use that. Feeling lightheaded because I should be using a mask as well as the gloves, of course. You just put a little bit on a cloth like that, a little bit of your Goof Off, and see, that comes right off. That comes right off. See? Now, it's a little hard on the finish. So if you keep rubbing, I find that it starts to dull the finish. So if you have a really difficult area, you might have to polish it and wax it to bring back some of the shine. The good thing about a white car is that these kind of defects, like the dullness that it causes, doesn't show as much as it would on a darker car. So yeah, Goof Off is going to be your friend. Now my 2007 Crown Vic is in particularly bad shape. They tried to take off the reflective tape and it only partially came off, leaving quite a mess. And as you can see, when they took it off, it also took off chunks of the white paint as well. They really made quite a mess of this that I'm gonna have to clean this up. On the 2009, they didn't try to take off the reflective tape, and it looks a lot better, and I'm just gonna leave it as it is. I don't think that's a bad thing at all to have reflective tape on these cars. But on this one, because it's in such bad shape, I'm gonna have to remove the remains of the tape that those government employees couldn't get off. And the way to do it is with a heat gun right here. So the way to do it is with a professional heat gun. Now you got to be careful with these because this gets really hot. This can actually melt your paint. So you got to be very careful. And what I do is I use the heat gun, of course, and a plastic scraper. This is sort of like a pry tool that you can buy for taking off clips and various other things, and it's perfect for scraping the tape off after it's all gooey and flexible because you've heated it up. And this will not really hurt your finish, at least not too much anyway. Now I probably wouldn't do this if I had like a Lamborghini, but for the Crown Vic, well, you can see it doesn't really matter. So heat them up, get it nice and gooey, and this will come right off. And then you have to finish taking some of the residue off with the Goof Off. And you can tell that it's hot when you see some of the plasticky pieces starting to curl a little bit. There you go. That means it's pretty hot right here. And we can scrape it. Now I would normally use two hands to do this, but since I'm trying to show you, I will just use my one hand and show you. See, it'll just come right off like that without hurting your paint underneath. That's the way to do it. There you go. And I would also use the heat gun to take off the tape. See the tape on the roof here? Now they use white tape here, but I still don't like that. I want to take this tape off They use it to cover the holes that they have for the light bar and everything else that was mounted up here. I'm going to take this tape off, and to do that, I'm going to use the heat gun again, just to make sure it's nice and gooey. If you don't use the heat gun, when you try and take the tape off, it will remove the paint, just like what happened here. The paint here is weak. The Ford white paint is horrible, and it'll just peel off real easy. So use the heat gun to take off the tape that they use to cover those holes. Okay, Vic tip number 4, here it is. Once you've got the tape off, you're going to have a hole, and look what I've got here. I've got a little plug that fits right into this hole, and you can buy a whole bunch of these, all on eBay. And the inside diameter is 3/4 inch, and the outside diameter is 1 inch. So 1 inch, so that'll cover. 3/4 inch is usually the size of the holes that they use on the roof for the different attachments or for the antenna on the trunk here. And I think, short of actually doing metal work, of actually welding in a plug in here, you can just cover this, and I think that looks a lot better than tape. You put a little bit of silicone, no, this one's a little bit loose. You put a little bit of silicone right around there, and then when you put it in the hole, it will be waterproof, and it will look a lot better than tape. Now, I'll put the link below in the description of where you can get these. These ones are white. Most of the time they come black. Depending on what color your police interceptor is, you might need white or black. In my case, because the RCMP here in Canada use white vehicles, I needed the white. So I'll put a link below where you can get these. And Crown Vic tip number 6 or 7, I'm not sure what. Most of the wheels, most of the steel wheels on the Crown Vics look like this when you pick it up. Yeah, that's just horrible. They rust very easily. It's a black paint and they look horrible. This is what they should look like. Basically, it's just, I guess, a satin black. It's not quite matte. That's the actual color should be. So it's very easy to buy a semi-gloss black or a satin black, and just to simply paint these wheels, and they look great. And if you really want to, of course, you can remove all the rust and do everything else and take them off if you want to do a really perfect job. But otherwise, just a little bit of semi-gloss paint or satin black and you're good to go. Okay, if you're going to be using chemicals such as goof off, you got to look like a goof, and you got to wear one of these things to protect yourself. So don't be a goof and not wear it, but be a goof and wear it. Remember, safety first. Okay. Now, of course, the Crown Vics have power windows. As you can see, up, driver's side, rear, rear, but of course, when you go to the rear of the car and you're in the car, of course, you're going to get locked in because, you know, you're a prisoner basically back here, and they don't want you to be able to open up the window and get out. So power windows don't work. Everything in the back seat is disabled, and for good reason, because there were criminals and bad people back here. But now you're going to have family members back here, and they're not bad, so they should be able to open these windows up. But as you can see, it doesn't work. But take a look at this. If you just move this plastic piece out of the way, which it already is. Let's see if I can do it from the front. Okay, so this plastic piece comes right out, and take a look at this. There's a disconnected connector right there. Do you see that? I'm just gonna put that right the heck back in. Right the heck back in. And connect it. Now let's see what happens back here. Remember, these weren't working? Whoa, look at that. And that's Crown Vic tip number 9, number 10, I don't know. The fumes have gone to my brain, so I have actually no idea where I'm at. But anyway, that's how you get the rear windows working on a Crown Vic. Just look behind this panel right here and connect it together. Simple. Okay, Crown Vic tip number 15. Okay, so if the Serpentine belt here looks like this, you're in good stead. This is in good shape here. If you look at the ribs right here, you can see there's no little micro cracks. There's no cracks on the upper edge. This is a good Serpentine belt. Good belt. Bad belt over here. Okay, take a look at this. Take a look at this. First of all, you can see that there's little minor cracks in the rib portion of the belt. And if we look along the belt here, it's got a worn out appearance. And can't really show you right now, but there is some minor cracking on the outer face. So any little cracks like this, it's time to replace the belt. Oh, and take a look at that. You can actually see that parts of the belt have started to come off onto the idler. That should be smooth, shiny metal. It's got little bits of rubber right here. This is from the belt. If you see a belt like that, you got to replace it right away. All right, there you are, some Crown Vic tips and tricks. I have no idea how many that was, but there's a few there. Anyway, thanks for watching Photomikes Garage. I will see you next time.